Uh, I'm going to thank Anjali to be here once again. Thank you, Dr. Chhabria, once again to take this invitation and support us. And I mean, you're doing a lot of work in any ways for the mental health awareness, which you've been doing for many, many years. But I'm just going to give a very short introduction to her. She really doesn't need much intro, but she's a leading psychiatrist and psychotherapist in our country. And she's been practicing for more than 25 years. And she has her own organization, which she set that up in way back in 2005. And she has been honored as being the youngest, um, I think if I'm not mistaken, please do correct me, the youngest president of the Bombay Psychiatric Society.
Right. That was way back. Back, yes.
Yeah, it's way back. But you've contributed in so many spaces through panel discussions, through your writings, through TV shows. Even I think you had one little snippet on NDTV one of these days. So
right.
You've just been there guiding and giving, and you write books. You have a book written. And of course, I've known her way back. I think Dr. Anjali's seen me growing up as a kid, and I go there. So very, very happy and blessed to introduce you as someone I've seen you grow up when in my younger days, and of course now as a panelist and a psychiatrist who we all look up to for guidance and care. So with a warm, warm welcome, I'm going to invite you to take this session forward, which is actually our first session for Light Talks in the Art and Healing Festival today.
Thank you, Zil. And as Zil just introduced, yes, I have seen her. Always happy, always smiling, always giggling. And it's been a pleasure to have known her all these years and to see her now to do such wonderful work. Not only, people work for themselves, but the true essence of a person is when you work to make other people's lives better. And Zil, thank you so much for doing that, because you're always doing it and doing it in so many ways. And yes, I have seen her work with difficult kids, and she does a wonderful job there too.
Thank you.
It's like I see parents when they come to us and they say, oh my God, it's so difficult to handle this child. And that same child will go to Zil and so nicely and so be so relaxed that you actually wonder that is this the same child? And typically the parents will say, no, but ye ghar pe aisa nahi hai. Ye Zil madam ke saath sab achhe ho jate hain. So for all those who do not know this aspect of Zil, she is wonderful at what she does. Okay, so coming to today's topic. So Zil, are we going to have a conversation, or do you want me to talk myself? I think let's talk to each other. It's always better.
Always.
It gets a little better. Yeah, boring.
We can start off a little bit with a little idea of what the talk is all about, and then we can move forward. And whoever's attending, seeing us, you can ask us questions also probably, and we can give some more insight on that.
Yes. So when Zil and I were talking about, what should we talk about? And I thought something that I've been seeing, around me is that, there are people who've been watching Netflix for the last 20 months, and then there are the caregivers. Okay. People who've been taking care of people all throughout COVID. And while the people who've been watching movies and watching shows, they are fed up because they don't know which show to watch. These bicharas have they've not even seen one show in the last 20 months. So I think it's really important, first of all, when we begin this, that, first, let us just look around. Who are these people who've been caring? The caregivers. Of course, the first people that come to our mind are the doctors, who've been working through the pandemic, who've been day in and night. Some of them have not even visited their own houses. They've been living in hospitals or living away from their homes because they've been taking care of everybody else. Besides the doctors, the policemen, they have also been doing a huge job, taking care of what's happening, the law and order of the cities. And of course, a place like Mumbai, it's not only law and order. Every day we have some new news, some breaking news, and the cops have been handling it. Besides that, just think, what about that bichara technician who goes door to door to take a COVID test? you know while we do not even want to meet our own family members if they have COVID, this technician is going and collecting at least 20 samples a day. I often land up talking to them and telling them that I said, आपको कोविड हुआ? And he'll say, हाँ हमको तो पहले वेव में ही हो गया और हमको पता भी नहीं चला. Then even the people who are making the reports are lab technicians who have been working so hard, our security guys, our milkman, our grocery people, all these people, when we started talking about, caregivers, okay, we realized that the caregivers were, yes, not only the hospital staff, but people who've been working throughout the pandemic. And we thought that we should start first by thanking them, by showing them some gratitude, and also by helping them to take care of themselves. Because, yes, in taking care of us, they have not only fallen sick themselves, but they have forgotten to take care of themselves. So, today's session is directed towards the caregiver. I'm sure a lot of you here are also caregivers of your family and of society. Our poor teachers who had to relearn how to teach, when the students would crib about it and say that, oh my God, they're so fed up of online school. I would tell them, look at your teacher. Your teacher never knew how to teach online. And here she has to look at a screen where half the kids are half asleep, the others do not want to put on the camera. And after some time, the parent will tell her, this child is not learning anything. So imagine if you cannot teach your child when you're sitting with him, you're expecting the teacher to teach him online, So I think hats off to all these people who've been working very, very hard. And yes, before we go further, let us understand what is caregiver stress. So what happens to caregivers? Yes, of course, they're humans. They also get stressed. They also fall sick. And they also get fatigued. Okay, because yes, they're humans, right? So similarly, as we get upset and we get angry and we get fatigued, these are people who go through fatigue. And many a times I've heard people tell caregivers that, oh, if you're so tired, why don't you take a break? But honestly, look around. Are you willing to give the caregiver a break? If today, the doctor told you that I'm on holiday, if you needed the doctor and the doctor told you I'm on holiday, what do you think will happen? No, doctor, please handle this case, then you can go on holiday. Or similarly, whether it is the person who's cleaning your house, So what happens is that these caregivers actually also need to take care of themselves. Because all around, we've been hearing stories of, just I think 2 months ago, we heard, we were all shocked when we heard about a young doctor who looked so physically fit, but who just dropped down dead. The entire hospital went into shock and said, but there was nothing wrong with him. He did not even have a high cholesterol report. Then what is it? Definitely, stress is something that starts eating away at your health. Now let's understand what is stress. Stress is something that we face every day. Okay, so if I have to wake up and now go back to work, there will be a little bit of stress. Okay, if I have to wake up, cook a meal for people, and then go to work, the stress gets added on. But most of us can manage with this kind of stress. So there is no problem. it is only when the stress becomes distress, when we start getting disturbed by this stress, that we start getting distressed. What happens to the body when you're under stress or under distress is that your hormones start going up and down, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and all your little autonomic nervous system gets disturbed. And that can create more health issues. The first sign is when you're not able to sleep or you're not able to wake up. So some people have insomnia, they can't sleep. And then there are those, once they go to sleep, they can't get up. There are others who have eating disorders, okay, eating disturbances. Either they can't eat at all because they are anxious, or they just want to keep stuffing their face. A lot of people have reached out and said that, the entire day is fine, but come night, I'm not able to sleep. I want to binge watch Netflix or whatever it is, and I want to eat all the things which are not good for me. So definitely these are signs of distress. And yes, today is the time that we want our health care, our caregivers to take care of themselves. And we also want you to take care of them, because they may not even realize that they are going through stress or they are getting distressed. But all you people around the caregiver, make sure that they are taking care of themselves. Now, many a times, people say, but how do we take care of ourselves? So, yes, I'm a caregiver. I have to go to the hospital. I have to, be there. And yes, I can't take leave because my work is important, But what I would like to tell you is that physician first, heal yourself. Because today, if you are okay, you will be able to take care of other people. So do not feel guilty to spend some time on taking care of yourself. Eat well, sleep well. The other day when the entire WhatsApp and all the connections were down, a doctor called me up the next morning and said, last night was the only night that I slept well, because I knew even if I checked my phone, I wouldn't see anything. So I said, Chalo, let me sleep well. So for all your caregivers, I think, yes, COVID has taught us that life can go on without anybody and without anything. So let's start delegating work. Let's start sharing responsibilities, and try not to micromanage everything. Of course, when you do something, most of the caregivers, who really get caught are the ones who are perfectionists, because they are the ones who want to do things properly. Now, because they do things properly, everybody else wants them to do the stuff. So people are very happy when they've taken responsibility, because it's like this, if you know that the best person is going to do the job, then you will also happily give it to them. So please start delegating work to other people, because till you do not do that, you will not even know whether they're doing it properly or not. And the second thing is that we need to learn how to switch off in the day, because if you do not switch off, and I'm not saying it's not about switching off your phone physically, but it is about switching off from the gadget. So that, it could be a simple thing that you just tell people that if there is something urgent, call me, I will not check messages. So that somebody will call you. If you are a doctor and you're watching this, I would say this is the time to share your practice. So that means that, yes, we can have hours where we are accountable, and we can have our colleagues who will be accountable maybe for the next 2 hours. Do not feel, there's one term that everybody uses, which is called as FOMO, fear of missing out. And I have seen that actually caregivers sometimes have FOMO when they are not available. They feel, oh my God, I don't know what is happening, because they're so used to having the adrenaline high. So see if you can switch off and do something completely different. Okay. The next very, very important thing is that we have to start practicing what we call as mindfulness. What do I mean by mindfulness? Is it a difficult technique that I have to go and learn in the Himalayas? No. Mindfulness, the same concept. Some of you may have done certain spiritual practices, certain, and learned that it basically means it's like a meditation where you are paying full attention to whatever you are doing. That means you're extremely mindful and you're using all your senses to do your job. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're concentrating 100%. So, whatever you do, concentrate 100%. And when you're not doing it, do not even think about it. And the next very, very important thing, which I would share with all the caregivers, is that yes, we must have one or more hobbies, something that we like to look forward to. It could be music, it could be dancing, it could be gardening, anything. Do not feel that you do not deserve to take a break and do something for yourself. You have not come to the planet to be punished. So please take some time for yourself and do what you like to do. And see if you could practice that for some time, because that becomes our source of happiness. That becomes our source of joy. And when you feel joyful, you feel relaxed, and that gives you renewed energy and vigor. Some people, some caregivers who I have met are saying that they're finding it difficult to sleep and they're resorting to either sleeping pills or they need alcohol at night to sleep. And to wake up, they need 2 coffees a day. So they begin their day with coffee and they end it with alcohol. Now, very, very bad idea, because what typically happens is that your sleep cycle starts getting disturbed. There is a part of sleep which is called as REM sleep, which is really important for you to be fresh when you wake up. Now, when people start having sleeping pills which are not prescribed, or alcohol, then typically what happens to them is that their REM cycle gets disturbed, and when they have coffee, again, they're waking themselves up. So your sleep arousal cycle is getting disturbed. That can lead to hormonal imbalances. So it's important that when you're not able to sleep, try and figure out what is it that is bothering you. A lot of people who I have met in the last 1.5 years are anxious. They're anxious, and of course, uh, caregivers are anxious because they're always caring for people. So they are anxious because of something not going well. By the next day, it becomes someone else's problem. And then the third day, it may be the third problem, you know. And typically, what happens is that when you're a caregiver, I promise you, the better you are at your job, the more work you will get. So if you really want to be a caregiver, the first person you should start taking care of is of yourself. And yes, please do not feel guilty about it. People feel guilty when they have to take care of themselves, but when they have to take care of the whole world, they're very happy. In fact, some people get so addicted at taking care of others that when they have nothing to do or when they have time, they almost start saying, at least I should have something to do. Why am I sitting free? Why I will start feeling guilty. So do not feel guilty. Use small moments to enjoy. When you get a little time in between something, pick up the phone, talk to your friends, laugh about something, joke about something, go and, if you like to cook, go cook something and find happiness and pleasure in small, small joys
So,
and make it a habit.
yeah, you said something right on point, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but this exact
No,
thing
no.
has been running in my head, guilt. I think that's something the caregivers are caring and carrying it with them so much, that they feel guilty to do something for themselves. They are feeling guilty to take a break. They're feeling guilty to take a little nap. or even take a holiday. I mean, not that we are really taking holidays, but maybe going somewhere, a holiday in your own room, just to cut off. And that guilt seems to be becoming an obstacle. And very often I'm wondering, then what is the difference between a caregiver and a caretaker?
so so basically, I mean, of course there could be two names for the same thing, but it's like, I mean, I don't know, what would you think? What is the difference between a caregiver and a caretaker?
Well, sometimes I think caretakers, I mean, this is just top of the head, and what is, which have multiple meanings, like you're saying, but somebody who takes care of the house, or somebody is employed, or is taking your dogs for a walk, or so the caretaker. But we also have caretakers who are actually taking care of the elderly and the disabled.
Yeah.
And so there, I'm assuming, my understanding is that a caretaker is who gets employed to take care, and a caregiver is not necessarily employed. It's somebody who is just it's their duty, like beyond the health workers and our police forces and all of them, the basic caregivers at home, whether it is the family or friends.
Right.
So I am, that's part of
yeah.
my
So
understanding.
basically what you're saying is that the caregiver could be someone who's voluntarily taking more responsibility, and I was talking to my friend yesterday who seems to be a caregiver for the entire community. So literally when she comes back home, first she'll go on the first floor and see a 90-year-old uncle, then she'll see her 85-year-old aunt, and then she comes to her house and she has to take care of her dog. So she's like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Who is going to take care of me? So I had this chat with her yesterday and I said, you know what, you have to start by taking care of yourself. And also, see, also one problem that caregivers have is that they want to do 100% all the time, and that sometimes becomes tiring. And they think that if they do not do it, things are going to go wrong, and that's where I was talking about delegating small tasks to people, and of course supervising it.
Right.
I'm not saying that if you have to give medicine to your aunt, don't do it, but maybe teach the caretaker to put medicine 3 times, supervise it, so at least that you do not have, your job becomes a little easier.
So true, because I mean, a lot of them who are watching, and I think our own experiences, being in the front line from the mental health perspective also, it's very, very draining at times. And it's, for us to say no for an appointment is a task. I mean, I have faced it, but somewhere I think thanks to the pandemic, we've also learned to say, not right now, can we reschedule it? Because you realize, like you're very correctly saying, that if you don't start seeing what is your need or the concern, I don't know whether we are really helping the other person out.
Zil, that is true. But I'll tell you, like sharing of responsibilities. I remember when the pandemic started, and there was so much responsibility coming on, and one day I actually sat down and I said, I mean, Bombay is so big. I cannot save Mumbai myself, right? So at that time, what I did was we run an NGO and I joined hands with 9 other NGOs, and I said, listen, guys, and we formed something which is called as Mumbai Dhadkan, okay, where we said that, so together we would try, so it became a collective responsibility, so if a request came, because there was a time that as it would near night and I would say, oh my God, I hope nobody's going to ask me for a bed or an ambulance or oxygen right now because I want to sleep, and typically what happens is you go to sleep, you probably, you need 6 hours of sleep, and the minute you hit the head, you will get a call, and then you get into that whole cycle again.
True.
So we almost, there was a number that we were sharing and we said that, okay, we are going to rotate that number every day so that at least the other people can have a good night's sleep, or we can delegate and share responsibility. And that is what I've also been telling all the mental health professionals that, have a group practice where you can share your responsibility. And and I mean, yes, you will do your best, but sometimes your best may not be enough. And that's all we can do.
True. So this leads me to another question. Why is it so difficult for us to actually have self-care? Why doesn't it become the priority? Is it got anything to do with that conditioning, the way we grew up?
So I absolutely. I think first of all, I think as Indians, we are always taught to be doing the next thing. Okay, so you can't just sit down from first standard, you go to second standard, from 10th, you go to 12th, etc., etc. Right? So you can't just sit down and relax. Okay, so you almost feel guilty to relax. That is one thing. Okay, and the second thing is that caregivers by itself are people who are empathetic. Okay, and the more you empathize with others, until and unless one fine day where you say that, okay, I'm going to make myself a priority, you don't even realize that life has passed you on, and so many other things have happened. you know and of course, when you don't do something, you feel bad about it, and you feel that, okay, and we don't even know how to say no. That is another problem. you
Correct.
know yeah, so we want to be able to do everything. I don't know why.
Right. So yeah, you're there, right? Because suddenly your screen is frozen for me.
Oh,
And
is that so?
no,
Can you see
now
me now?
I can
Hello?
see you. Yeah, I can. Yeah, fine. That's fine.
Okay. Is it fine?
Yes, it is. It is. It is. So,
Hello?
can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me, Dr. Anjali? Can you see me, hear me? Because I can see you.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. I've joined from another device.
No worries, no worries. Absolutely fine. You are on mute, Dr. Anjali. Huh?
Am I audible now?
Yes,
Okay. Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So, as we were talking about how I think we are all conditioned of not being able to say no, probably also seeing ourselves that, like, I don't know, it's a very typical Indian tradition, right? Sab pehle khana sabko paroso, fir khud khao.
बिल्कुल
Sabka pehla dekho,
बिल्कुल
fir karo. So, somewhere I think it's very ingrained into us, and that it's okay to do this.
You have to take care of everybody else. And also sometimes what happens is that we have to see that we do not become we don't have this whole victim mode also. Sometimes I cannot afford to enjoy myself. Why? So I tell people that even if today you do the best work, what's going to happen? Okay, yes, you'll get some awards, and then there will be a road which will probably be named after you. And one day that where your name is written, that's going to fall down. Okay, nobody will even come and put it back. So just forget about it. Do your best, but definitely if you take care of yourself, then only you'll be able to do your best. Otherwise you're going to grudge. My mother-in-law Zil had a very good example. she would say that before you feed anyone else, feed yourself, because if your stomach is full, you'll be able to do a better job.
True.
So she would always tell us before feeding the kids also, she would say that, you should eat first and then feed the kids. Otherwise you will be very cranky.
I guess
So
that's why they also tell us in the airplanes, right? Wear the oxygen mask before you make, so even the child wear it, because how are you going to help the child if you only don't have oxygen to
absolutely,
breathe?
absolutely. Mm.
So another question, very often we don't realize that we are getting burned out.
Right.
So we may be feeling it, but we may be in denial. We don't know only. I think we are not aware that, oh, we've reached burnt out, or we've gone beyond that, or we are exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically. It's like only when we have physical symptoms, which means kuch gadbad hai. Emotional
Right.
mental exhaustion, nobody really seems to, they know, but are not able to pinpoint
Recognize.
and
They're not able to recognize it. Yes.
how does one do that to not
So
reach there?
So I think one is, of course, when you when you make self-care a part of your daily routine,
Hmm.
okay, that is one thing. Second is that, I mean, the day when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like going to work, that itself would be the first symptom of a burnout to me. Or when you start grudging, oh, everybody else's lives are so good, my life is so bad, you know,
Correct.
and that itself is something. When you start feeling like this, that is the first day you should say that, okay, I need to do something for myself. Am I getting burnt out?
Right.
Am I becoming,
Right.
or am I walking around with such a long face and getting so irritable that, yes, I'm taking care of the entire world, but at home I'm very difficult to live with? That
True.
itself would tell us that, maybe it's time to slow down a little bit and start laughing and start smiling, and, doing things that make you happy.
So there is a possibility of reversing a caregiver burnout.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And बोलते हैं ना कि अगर लंबे रेस का घोड़ा बनना है, so you have to run every day. You
Correct.
can't run for 1 year and then collapse.
If I may ask, what is your self-care like, Dr. Anjali? Maybe that's a good example, because I have a very bad one and I can share that here and say how consistent it can be, because I think that's one of the challenges I personally face. You'll start out all saying, Chalo, ye karna hai.
हाँ,
The
हाँ,
first week
हाँ.
feels so beautiful. We've done everything. Come day 10th, one thing is left out. Come day 15th, something else is left out. Then 20th, they were saying, Are bapre, kya ho gaya? And then you have to restart the whole process again.
So I begin my morning. I have 3 dogs. So I begin my morning by sitting up on the terrace and having my cup of coffee, and it's nice. You can see parrots, you can see different birds. And I have my cup of coffee and I play with them. So that's the first thing I do in the morning. And there are 2 other things that I have been doing regularly through the pandemic. One is I've been pursuing my music, which I used to do as a kid, and I never understood why my mother sent me for singing classes. But I restarted that and I'm enjoying that. So that has almost become a part of my daily routine. And the second thing is I started doing Iyengar yoga, and I love it because I mean, earlier when people would talk about yoga and I would say, no, it's too boring. I find it very slow. I need to walk, I need to run. But what I realized was that this is a muscular form of yoga which helps you with not only your concentration, but it is so relaxing. So this is something that, and whenever I get a chance, I connect with my friends, and I think laughing at silly things keeps you going too. So playing with little kids, playing with anybody actually,
Yeah.
that is something that really keeps us going, and as if to say, who has joined me here just now.
So my son has just sent me a direct message here because he's watching this. He's
Yeah,
telling me, see, dogs are very good for self-care, because he's wanting one
absolutely.
and I am saying, okay, wait, let's see. So
No,
now
no, no,
he's validating here.
absolutely. My daughter's into animal adoption. We've got
Which I'm
lots of
aware, yeah.
doggies to give. So please tell him he can take his pick.
He's going to make sure he call you, Dr. Anjali, and say, listen, I'm just taking one.
I'll send you two, don't worry.
Then he's going to be the happiest.
Yes.
So yeah, but see, exactly this whole thing, that this little, laughter. I think a lot of us have forgotten how to smile and laugh and take a pinch with, they say, we say now a pinch of salt. Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Just
I think the biggest mistake we make it, we take ourselves very seriously.
Yeah.
And COVID has taught us
Yeah.
that people's kids have got married without them. People have died and their children have not been able to come for their funeral. Okay, so actually, I mean, are you really so important? And yes, at the same time, we also need to do our best. I'm not saying that, oh, you're not important, so don't do your best. No, please do your best, because that's who you are.
True.
But don't take yourself seriously. Do your job seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. I think that is something that I have, learned over the last few
You're
years.
right. You're absolutely right, because all these theories that we talk of play, even with children, and that play is so important. We've got to play, and that is like literally we say na play is bacche ka business is play. But we for somewhere very conveniently forget, thinking that when we become adults we don't need to play.
Actually, for all the parents, through the pandemic, when they were calling and saying, what do we do with our kids? I would just tell them, play with them.
Play with them.
Because when you play with your children, they also understand, they laugh with you, they joke with you, and they listen to you.
Yes.
And then they don't want to be on the gadget, they want to play. So
Yes.
I think that is very, very important.
I've had a couple of parents telling me that, "Arey, abhi to mera sab sunta hai. I'm playing, I said, what do you do? We are in the kitchen. If I'm cooking, he is making his own things there." I said,
Right.
I remember doing that as a kid, when my mom would be making rotis. I would be taking one little one and trying stunts. But I think that's the connection that we allowed, and we came in, we went into the kitchens and did whatever nonsense, but that nonsense was very, very important. Like in ABT, in As-Based Therapy, we call something as fun, as FUNN, where we say functional understanding not necessary. You got to play. And everything doesn't have to be, dissected. And just do it and see what it comes up. And it also has a very strong impact.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, if you listen to your child's nonsense, they listen to your sense.
Absolutely. So what would you've already shared so many different ways of how we can take care, starting, of course, with the importance for caregivers. And I think we also need to respect our caregivers. We sometimes take them for granted. That because, like you said, you are a doctor, so ye aapko karna hi. You're a policeman, you got to do this. Or in fact, the house help who's there, how can you take chutti?
Right.
Recently, somebody told me that the father passed away. The house help's father passed away, and he went to the village and said, "Okay, now come back." And like, I've got Barwa, Terva, I can't come back. He's saying, "Okay, now the one's gone. When he was alive, you never went. Why did you go now?" And I was in shock, and I was like, "Oh, okay. It's so difficult."
Yeah.
But I guess we also need to start seeing them through a different lens. That they also need to take their holidays, their care. I mean, we all want a weekly off, but if you to give a weekly off to them, we all cringe and say, "Hey, no, you can't take the holiday when you want it."
But you know what? The most important thing for caregivers is to talk. Normally, what happens is, when caregivers have a problem, they don't like to talk about it because they feel, kiske saath baat karu main? But what we have been encouraging caregivers is, all through the pandemic, we've been telling them to talk to each other, to make small groups of friends, and to share their frustrations, to share their anxieties, to share their concerns, because when you do that, you realize, one is that you're not alone. Two is that, okay, I'm also human, and I should also reach out to people for help. I haven't come on this planet only to help everybody else. And I'm also human. I have broken down a couple of times in the last 1.5 years, And immediately I reached out. I reached out to my friends, I reached out to my family, and I said, I'm overwhelmed. And the best part is the support that comes across, you
Yes.
know,
Sometimes
and
just one word is enough, right? Just you may not be in person, but just the word or some. Now, of course, we get emoticons also, but it's enough. It's like, okay, I know somebody is there.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. And somebody just listening to you. I mean, I think that is what is really important.
awesome. I think this is, somewhere we all know it, but we don't want to really start doing it. But this requires a lot of discipline.
No, no, no. You just have to start. Nothing more discipline.
Love
Again, don't
it.
put pressure on yourself.
So
Hoga,
just that.
jabhi hoga, but you have to start doing it. And you don't have to do everything every day, whatever you can do, because as caregivers, the days are also very full, you
Yes.
know. So a little pampering to yourself whenever you can, is important. Then, uh, and as I said, even if you just pick up the phone and start laughing about something that happened 30 years ago, that itself becomes de-stressing.
Yes. Today while talking to, I'm feeling so grateful. I'm thinking of all the friends and family who've always been around and like a phone call away. And it really, I think, brings you back to ground and anchors you to the.
Absolutely. So if you're normal, when you're not doing anything else, when you're not working, that also keeps you grounded.
Yeah. I started
Yeah.
loving my breaks. There was a time when I would not want to stay alone, or now I absolutely enjoy it. Like, one day to break banta hai, kuch nahi karne ka us din pe.
Absolutely.
So that,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
I think we're all learning as we're moving ahead. Uh, Dr. Anjali, if there are any questions, can we take a few questions? Just if
Sure, sure,
there are
sure.
any questions,
Sure, sure. If there's anything. See.
if anyone has any questions, if you'd like to ask something, this is a good time to go ahead and do it. I'm also just going to check on Facebook on the live in case if someone has asked. But you can put it on chat, or if you want, I can unmute and you can ask your question. Doesn't need.
Hi, hi, Doctor. Vipin here.
Hi, Vipin.
Hi.
Vipin or Bipin?
Vipin.
V.
I am Zill's husband.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh,
We should
oh,
give
very good.
we should give you a pat on your back for taking care of our caregiver.
Thank you so much. And it's really, really lovely to see you. I think after a really long time. And very,
Thank you.
very, very informative, very nice talk. My question is, there are two common words: care. One is and there are two different words joining that care. One is give and one is take. Right.
Huh,
So
huh.
I want to know that what does caregiver gets in return
Huh.
and what does caretaker gets in return?
Vipin, I think you've joined, you and your wife really think similarly, because we were talking about caregivers and caretakers at the beginning of this conversation. Okay. And so I think caregiver, actually, the person who gives the care also has this sense, he or she is, by either not only by training, but also by nature is more empathetic, okay, as a person. And because of the empathy that they are able to convey to other people become very comfortable with them. And of course, now every caregiver may not be empathetic, because as we were talking, the definition of caregivers is also people who take care of us, whether it is the police force or whether it is people who do our I mean, it could be the sweeper on the road also, because they
Yes,
are also taking care of all of that,
correct.
you know so I think that is what it is, you know
Okay.
so
All
I
right.
think
And
yes, by
yeah.
nature they are empathetic. And we were talking about, in fact, I asked Zil, I said, what is the difference between a caretaker and a caregiver? And she said that, we feel that maybe the caretaker is doing it for a financial gain, whereas the caregiver may not be necessarily doing it for a financial gain, but may just be doing it because that is their nature.
Nature, yes, that's
Yes.
exactly what
Yeah,
I
and they
wanted
don't
to.
know
Yeah.
otherwise. They don't know otherwise. They
Yes,
don't
yes,
know how to ignore that call. They
correct,
can't sit and chill. They want to be, they will feel uncomfortable if they are not able to deliver what they know they are able to deliver.
correct.
And people may not even expect it. Like there could be in a WhatsApp group, someone says, oh, I've got COVID. There are 30 people. But there will be that one person who will be calling up everybody and saying, Acha, COVID pe ye karo, wo karo. Should I send you khana? Should I take care of this, that, blah, blah, blah. And that
Yes,
one person may be doing it to 30 people, you know. So that is probably the difference.
yes. Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vipin. Okay, there are some. Okay, there are lots of thank yous on the
Okay.
chat.
Good, good, good.
So, Bhashni, you're asking if this talk is recorded. Well, yes, it's getting recorded and it is live on FB. And with Dr. Your permission, can I put it on YouTube so others can also benefit from it as
Sure,
and
sure.
when they can hear it?
Sure, sure.
But I think going back with what you're saying is that as caregivers, as much as we want to take care of others, it will start with yourself. And take small steps for it, small doses. We don't need to rush into it. One day at a time.
And make it a habit.
And make it a habit. Build it into your own routine.
Yes, yes. And
So,
you may not start your day with it, but you can definitely end your day with it. And recognize the signs of stress. That is very important.
yes. And I think we all need to start learning to smile and laugh and really enjoy. I think we all strive for happiness. We look at happiness as this big thing. But I think there are all these little small things that make us very happy. And I think that's going to account much more. And I think with the mental health weekend, I think taking care of the mind is the utmost importance.
Absolutely, because that is the software, and there is no health without emotional health. So the mental health week is going on. So all of you be happy, and even if you're not happy, it's fine. Okay, but recognize what is happening to you, but try to bring back, the zen in your life.
Yes, I think that COVID has taught us. I think a lot of us have, and a lot of people have started following meditation, yoga, mindfulness, which probably in the past we all said, "Acha," it was like one of the
Ek
last
din
things on the
karenge.
list. Ek din karenge.
Ek
Abhi
din
ye nahi hai.
karenge.
Jab down 60 we'll
Yeah.
do it. But I think
Yes,
it's become a way of life, and I think that's what we all need to recognize, that this is a way of life.
absolutely.
So, like you mentioned correctly that understand, recognize your feelings, acknowledge it also. That that if you're feeling down, yes, I'm feeling down, and there's nothing wrong in it. Okay, and then you can start working towards it. I think this has been really reassuring and very insightful in different ways. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Anjali, for giving time and creating that space to talk about this, and I'm so happy we started with this. Last year's Arts and Healing Festival, we started something called Circle of Care. And I am so glad, because there is a lot to do for caregivers, because it's a space where you can come and really share. And now with you talking and sharing, I just hope more and more people, because there's so many people who do this. It's not just me or not just Dr. Anjali. There are multiple people who do this. Just reach out, take the support, what you need, when you need. And there is, I think, no harm in it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Always. Thank you so much for always accepting my invitation for this. Thank you so much once
Thank you, Zil.
And I'm hoping to see you soon in person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and keep coming. Hope to see you all soon. And all the other talks tomorrow and day after are action-packed days. It's the mental health weekend. So please do attend. If you've not registered, go ahead and register. We start off with a surprise event tomorrow, which is a live Instagram talk at 10:30. Join in. It is all about why sleep is important. I think all of us have got very rocky sleeps happening right now, schedules. And then we've got finding strength through art. We've got narrative therapy. And Sunday, we've got sound therapy. And we've got how negative emotions can help well-being. We want to stay away from them, but somewhere they are very helpful. And of course, the Sunday morning starts with energy and aura healing. So do join in. And thank you once again for being here today at this time, and a lots of gratitude, huge gratitude from the team AHF 2021. Bye-bye and see you.
Thank you so much. See you.